Gals, thank you so much. Please, Sarah, Karrie, introduce yourselves and we'll get into the state of auctions report and what have you. Any intro you want to do about that, about the report itself before we get going would be great too.
Okay, great. My name is Karrie Wozniak, thrilled to be here. And I'm thrilled, Trevor, that you said it was the best webinar ever. We don't have slides to go through, so I still hope it's a really great webinar today. So I'm used to my slides. So you're challenging me, Trevor.
You're out of your comfort zone, girl.
I'm just kind of talking off the cuff, so I appreciate it. Chief Marketing Officer at OneCause, and I'm so excited about this report. We have gotten a lot of traction. Sebastian has been the brains behind the report and really building it and getting it out there. And what we were thinking of a couple of years ago when we did the giving experience study is how do we also really focus on the state of nonprofit auctions and really laser into things that would be meaningful for nonprofits, to really sink their teeth into what donors are thinking, what nonprofit professionals are saying. And that's really what this report is doing. And no one else is doing it to the extent that we are today. And it's kind of like we're just benchmarking right now. Mm-hmm. And it's a great deep dive that we're going to talk about today. But I'm already thinking, and Sarah knows me well enough that, okay, well, what's next year? Oh, yeah. And how do we keep evolving this?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And I'm Sebastian. I'm the Director of Corporate Communications here at OneCause. I head up our research initiatives, and I'm the co-chair for the RAISE Conference Programming Committee, in addition to other duties. And I think Karrie was talking about the giving experience study, and you can't really talk about the state of nonprofit auctions report without addressing that, because that is where we got our data. So we've been studying a group called social donors since 2018. So anybody that's participated in things like gone to a gala, they've gone to an auction, they've done a peer-to-peer event, etc. So this year we decided, hey, we want to ask a very specific set of questions just about auctions, because there's a gap, obviously, in the industry. No one is talking about this in report format in a really broad way. So we developed that set of questions for nonprofits themselves, and for those social donors, specifically auction donors. So we heard from over 1,000 social donors altogether, and I think it was like 150 nonprofit professionals answered as well. So we had both sides of the coin there in our answers. So it's a little bit of background.
It's a great sample size. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
So where do you guys want to start? I know you were talking about what is like your favorite thing? What do you want us to talk about first is my question.
For us. Yep.
Sure. Let's start with what are you seeing in terms of, in-person fundraising and participation?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So I think I'm going to pull back from giving experience one more time because there's some data in there that helps kind of lead to this auction portion of this. So during the pandemic, obviously people were going virtual, right? Mm-hmm. So there was this huge surge in social donors. At one point, it was like 1 in 3 people said, yep, I'm a social donor. I participate in this. And that has dropped down just a little bit to around 20% of US adults saying they are social donors. And that's really just more of a recalibration. It's getting back to in-person after a few stumbling blocks along the way throughout and after the pandemic. People are pretty comfortable being in person now, right?
Yeah.
But there are still, some uses for those virtual events. People want to expand their reach, but for the most part, people want to be back in person. They want to be there building that community. We all know that we are in desperate need of it right now. We need that connection, and in-person events are really doing that. So we're seeing a lot more people hosting those, sprinkling in some virtual options there to expand their reach. And one thing that I've been hearing a lot, like at conferences and when talking to nonprofits, is okay, are we going to do a big event? Are we going to add on some smaller events throughout the year too? So there have been a lot of questions around what other things could we be doing? Right. And as we kind of progress in this conversation, I know we'll get there eventually. Just want to talk about like some of the types of events that we've seen where you can like tack an auction on if you want. You don't have to, but there are some that are like ripe for the picking, but can go with an auction too. Yeah.
Love it.
And Karrie, did you have anything else about in-person events? I just babbled.
I think that's right. I think the return to in-person, it's that connection and that community that people are seeking. and the data that we have that kind of supports the experience, I think that the report kind of shares that. I think that the hybrid big streaming events of days of COVID and beyond the pandemic, that's probably not as big, but just incorporating some online functionality and in person is really what we're starting to see more of. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And so now what percentage of revenue is coming from the auctions?
Sure. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I think, Sarah, I can take a little bit of this. When we did the reporting, I believe 10% of that event is associated with auction revenue. I believe that was the number. Sarah, did I get that right?
I think it was 40% of our nonprofits. Sorry, I have my report pulled up because it's hard to remember all the numbers. 40% of the nonprofits who did answer said that they raised 10% or more of their fundraising revenue from auctions. So that was a pretty big chunk of people that we were surprised to see.
Sure,
right?
And it's a chunk of money. Yeah, absolutely.
We know it's a great strategy. It has been a strategy for a while, but the proof was in the numbers right there. And
right.
Kind of looking at,
so
I guess, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Uh-oh.
I think we're losing.
Am I frozen? Oh no.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, a little bit. But while we're talking about auctions, gals, let's talk about just what you notice as far as donor loyalty coming out of the auction, or just you see what I'm saying, of course. And then from there, thoughts on I want to talk about. You said that a couple things you can tack on. So I want to double click on what you mentioned, Sarah, as well. As you can tack on an auction very, very easily. I'm speaking freely to some of these community events that are already happening, where you can add a fundraising element to it. But just let's talk about just the donor loyalty that's coming out of these auctions because of the community, because of the connection that's happening, where folks are gathering in person for something they care about.
Sure. I think I'll just kind of start with a couple comments. Out of the gate, we had 96% of those attendees that went to the auctions, they said, and I think this is a good stat to start with, that their experience was excellent or good. So that's key out of the gate.
They're killing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things we found is that, while there's this belief of how much work and, this is a one-time push for money, and it's so much effort. What we found is that these events, people question whether these are worth doing or not. But what we found was the long term, and that loyalty is massive because they're interacting and they have the community together. And I'll share 4 different stats with everybody today. Number one was 82% of the attendees said they'd go to another event. Then 83% said they'd become annual donors. So we've got over 80% said they're going to come back and they're going to become annual donors. And then one of the stats that was so powerful to me in monthly or recurring giving is that 64% of them said they'd give monthly. That's a huge number. That if they didn't go to that event or that auction, we would miss out on a big group of people that can give. And then we asked some more questions, and 91% said they'd probably make another one-time gift at some other time in the year. So you got 64% saying, I'm going to give monthly, and then, I'll give another time this year. So I just that's, to me, Trevor, is the loyalty of these donors coming together and developing that community together. I love the 64% number. Monthly giving is what it's all about.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's 64. That's for folks that were even I didn't even know that was, some of those folks were answering going well, I didn't even know that was an option, because when I went to the event, no one asked if I would give monthly, right? This is this could be a whole other webinar, of course, about monthly, right? Yeah. Sarah, I see you going.
And I'm thinking, so I know there've been conversations around younger people at galas, younger people at auctions. And I actually talked to one of our customers who said, we have this really long-standing, successful auction, and we peeled off and we did an event specifically for younger people, right? It's lower entry. The tickets are not as much. It's kind of a casual, cool environment. They have cocktails. They have like a digital caricature artist and live haiku on site. So it's like this really cool vibe. And they realized that their live auction wasn't necessarily going to work for those younger people, but they still wanted to offer like the appeal portion. Mm-hmm. And what they did there was take it digital, because a lot of those like younger people, millennials especially, maybe we're coming into some money, we're moving on in our careers, but we're maybe not comfortable like raising a paddle in a room to be like, I have $10,000 for this experience. I do not as much as I would like to. Sure. But yeah, maybe I can like give you $1,000 or $2,000 along the way. I've kind of been saving up for this during the year. This may be personal experience because I've like dreamt about like going to an auction being like $5,000. I can do this.
Yeah.
But, just less pressure and just kind of changing the way things are kind of operating at the event and kind of tweaking it a little bit. And that's just been something that has come up. And I think that a recurring appeal would work really well, mm-hmm. like at an event like that. So you can't give a really big number right now, right? After live auction happens, do the appeal. Well, is there anybody in here that wants to give $100 a month? Is there anybody that was willing to give $50 a month? Some of those lower dollars for your younger donors or people that maybe don't have that big of a budget. And I would love to see that happening so much. So sorry, you touched the button.
No, well, it's something that we're not at the forefront of it necessarily, but we're at the forefront of having the conversation about it because we have the most, this is no different, the greatest minds in fundraising on the pod and the webinar. And one of the folks we've had on, Dave Raley, just wrote a book about sustainable giving. And mm-hmm. and you said it, $50 a month. The subscription economy, that's where, regardless of demographic, and we can get in more in the demographic data, Sarah, because mm-hmm. it was important to you that we bring that up, and we can even unfold that a little bit more as well. However, giving folks the opportunity, because that's how they spend in their day-to-day life. Yep. So why would we do it any different, right? And just giving mm-hmm. folks those, you said the vibe and a haiku artist and the digital art and all the, that's all super, super important because it's fun. It's mm-hmm. different. I don't see that. Having like really fun gamification and like revenue enhancers where the buy-in's $50, $100, mm-hmm. and you can win something. You can still bring in a boatload of money just being creative. And that's, like you said, just tacking on another fundraising piece or element to an in-person event, regardless of the demo. But yeah, I get how like certain age groups don't want to put on the black tie. I mean, I honestly really don't.
I don't either.
Myself, but I'm the oldest millennial there is probably. I'm 45, you know what I mean? But those kinds of things are fun, you know what I mean? And having some live entertainment and the opportunity to give, tapping into this, once again, the subscription economy, how folks are spending their money right now anyway. Why do we do it any different just because we're in the nonprofit side, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Really good.
One thing that I'll say is that when you asked about that loyalty, and we said, the recurring, the other stat that I thought I would share with everyone is that those auction donors, when they do give, they're super generous. Mm-hmm. And so when Sarah was mentioning the social donor study, the average social donor amount was $191. And when it was the auction donor question, they averaged 529. Wow. So those auction donors are giving more than the average social donor, which was real. I mean, when you think about donor loyalty and you think about that monthly giving of 64%, you just kind of, okay, they give more and they're in.
Yeah. And it was around half of them gave more than usual than they had in the previous year too. So even through, tough times, this is a group of people you're going to be able to count on to give and to support you. So that was a really nice little bright and shiny spot in the data for everybody, I'm sure.
No question. You bring up something like really wide lens though, too, that we speak to folks about all the time. It's like, take it all. And I don't mean that in a greedy way, but be an equal opportunity receiver, as we call it, right? That's like the new EOR, equal opportunity receivers. But be open to all of it, because the data you just suggested, it's like auction givers give, over $500, when they're in attendance. That's amazing. So, why wouldn't you? And then the recurring piece, of course, and the social piece, those are just dollars you can depend on. We can get in the science of monthly recurring, and we will on future episodes. And we did a great pod about it too with the gentleman I cited, Dave Raley, who's really, really awesome in the space and really shining a beautiful light on it. And we're going to literally talk about just having that opportunity at events in general, where folks you get everybody there in mass. talk about it. You were talking about, the testimonial piece and whatnot, and talking about the work when everyone's in the same location. Then, okay, we'll go with the monthly recurring options, at that point. But really, really cool. Good stuff. Good stuff. Sandy, you got anything to add?
So yeah. I was just going to say, hearing these numbers, it's just impressive. So congratulations to all the nonprofits who are just crushing it out there with, retention and I mean, the donor loyalty numbers are impressive. And, I hope it gives everyone hope out there that, that may be working towards, larger, loyalty numbers and retention numbers, that it's achievable. Why don't you give us some insight on bidding and what they're doing right? They're obviously doing something right. So let's talk about items and the bidding experience and what they're getting right.
Yeah. I think that one thing that stood out in the report overall for us is just how important it is to have a good mix of auction items. And so, one of the biggest things one of the hottest things is gift cards. And it's the most popular. 33% of the people said they bid on them. I mean, I know from personal experience, I'm looking for gift cards too, because, I can go out to dinner, or, hey, there's the places where I might shop. Not far behind that was about 32% went for dining and foodie experiences, those different food experiences. And then 26% were interested in travel packages. So you've got, gift cards, you've got dining and food experiences, and you have travel packages. Those were kind of the top three.
And they sound like different price points, even if you add gift cards together and bundle them up and stuff like that. You're just kind of hitting different price points and different levels of interest and budgets and what have you as well. It sounds like too.
Yeah, we did.
It's not just the priciest items. It's just those experiences in general that are getting a lot of play, like sports, entertainment tickets. Those were big draws. I think the number was almost a quarter of the attendees were bidding on those experiences in general. So those become really a big thing. I think it's just variety. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the variety is absolutely important. Give folks things that they want to bid on, frankly, right? Sarah, do you have anything to add to that, please?
Yeah, there was some. We did an open feedback question about this, how could the nonprofit improve their next auction? So they were asked to think about the last auction they went to, and the direct feedback was have a wider variety of items and have them at a variety of price points so that people of all budgets can afford them. So that came straight from the people that we asked that attend auctions. So they're telling us what they want. So we'll do it.
Yeah. Listen. They are. You got to give the people what they want, right? That's the thing. What's also really, really cool too is I think event fundraisers focus so much. We have to nail it. Oh my goodness, it has to be. We can't make one little mistake. This and that, and the other thing. It's awesome, and working with you all. I don't need to tell you all being in the tech space, but you can test and you can extract data from your event and figure out, okay, this is what we're going to do in 6 months when we have the next event and what have you. You care to speak to that and just the importance of getting lost in the data, so to speak? And I don't mean piles and piles of spreadsheets, but just you're going to get a roadmap for the next event, right? By looking at donor behavior, you could create your own auction report at your event, of course, right? Speak to that.
Yeah. I mean, you really have to try new things. You have to add different packages in each year to see what will stick. I think, working closely with a couple nonprofits, myself personally, is when the committee gets so stuck on, hey, this is what sold last year, we got to have it again. And yes, okay, that's fine. But maybe the donors want a little bit of something different. And so we branch out and we'll pull in some experiences or a consignment or something to that nature and just see what sticks. And some of it is just pulling people in with new ideas of, oh, that's a really unique item. I didn't think about that. And that might work for us. But it's getting the committee to not always do what we've always brought to the auction and branch out a little bit each year. Yep.
Well, you just said it. The reason why things are going so well now, right? Of course, it's so many events. And this data that that you're discussing is no different, is because folks are willing to be flexible and try new things, not just for the sake of being new, because new isn't always great, right? But rigidity is probably one of the worst traits in fundraising, and we've always done it this way. And yada, yada, yada. And you said committees. We have a joke internally with our team where it's like, where did they come up with this blasted idea for this, item or what have you that takes 36 hours to get to, and you got to get on the back of a whatever, like you got to ride in the back of a Bronco to get there. And it's like the committee members saw it on the back of like some airplane magazine or whatnot. That would be cool to put in the event. Like we joke around about that. It's like, that's not what folks want. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Or you have one person who wants them. Yeah.
Yeah. Your comment about rigidity is like kind of an overall comment to make about like the data and the suggestions that we're making today too, because it's not like, hey, you need to do every single one of these things to make your auction better. It's a buffet. Pick and choose what you think is going to work, test it out, try it out. Yeah. And even with the items, like Karrie said, what might work for a customer that she's working with may not work for a different type of organization at all. And I know on the podcast I was on, we talked about ornithology a little bit. So I will go that route again. So, right. So if there's like a health organization, they're going to have a really broad range of items, right? Just more general experiences, things like that. And then if I go to a bird conservation organization's auction, I know who's going to be in that room. It's going to be people that are maybe going to want gift cards to the bird supply store down the street that I am guilty of going to and shopping in. They're going to want maybe to be able to bid on a spotting scope, a really high-end spotting scope, or a destination experience that includes a bird watching tour. So that'll work for them, not going to work for that medical organization. So it comes down to knowing your audience and really kind of tailoring it and personalizing it for them too.
Right. I think it's really important to not only with silent auction, but especially with the live auction, do some polling beforehand of your, larger donors or your committee, and really know if there's going to be someone in your audience that wants this item, right? Ask for feedback for sure.
Mm-hmm. And there were numbers in the report as well. I believe it was 75% of nonprofits said that one of the ways they rated success for their auction was by getting donor feedback directly, but less than half of the nonprofits actually reported that they did surveys. So ask them. I know there's some
with your auction software. You could have surveys.
Yeah. I love the comment in the chat. Christopher says another thing is bourbon, like booze and wine pull.
Mm-hmm.
That is a big win, because if they don't like what's being served at the event from a wine pool, it's like, okay, here's my bottle of bourbon, or here's my wine that I just pulled out.
Yeah.
And you're talking about big picture, the gamification. It's just fun and interactive.
Mm-hmm.
And they get multiple people involved, and it's like what you said when you all were presenting at the AFP Icon. It's like everyone will come in droves, and they're all watch what everyone else is doing and want to get involved. It's just fun. So it's another gamification piece as well. Absolutely. Another great point by Christopher. Thanks for sharing, Christopher. And I wanted a follow-up question. I want to hit you all with a follow-up question. Karrie, I think you'd be able to answer this one great, because you were talking about gift cards. So any data you could share about that. But Christopher mentions opportunity to win raffle, high-end fun experiences. Yeah, we call that the golden ticket. The golden ticket strategy, Christopher. That's great. Which we've done a ton of episodes and a ton of talking about, and we're not going to stop. It is like a can't miss for revenue generation at your next event. Super good. Maggie had a great question. Thanks so much for sharing, everybody, and keep the questions and comments coming, please. Karrie, you were talking about gift cards earlier, and what they mean to you personally too, right? But like, how close to gift card value are people willing to bid? We have our own thoughts about that, but let's give some feedback there if you don't mind.
Yeah, we didn't have that question in the study per se.
Totally. Yeah.
But I would say it typically goes over value, because people are willing to give a little bit more, and they're also getting something. So it's kind of that give and get kind of perspective. But I wouldn't, it might not be 200% of value, but it's definitely over value. Yep.
Sarah, any feedback there?
No, if I go to an auction, that's exactly what I would have in mind if I am bidding on a gift card. Like, I'm making a donation, but I'm getting something in return. So I would certainly be willing to bid more than the face value, for sure.
Opinion rooted in some experience too is, I really like the idea, or we really, really ascribe to the idea of combining and packaging gift cards, where it's not just one standalone. And then Maggie, you probably already know this, being a fundraiser, but your opening bid amounts can really dictate, and bidding increments, the strategy behind it, what you're going to get. So, a gift card treat, perfect. Yeah, that's fantastic.
That's fun.
That'd be fantastic. Love that feedback. Sandy, you want to hit us with some more questions?
Yeah. Let's see. Anything in the chat? I think we're good on the chat. Let's talk about ease of engagement at the event and the importance of making it easy for attendees.
Love it.
Yeah, I think I'll
why
start.
it's so important.
Yeah. I'll let Sarah wrap up the question, but from my standpoint, it's so important to make it easy and enjoyable. No one wants to spend, half the night trying to figure out how to register or bid at the event. So when we asked people what parts of the event felt smooth and could use a little work, the positive news here is that people found that making a donation and registering was pretty straightforward on the technology that they're using, or whether or not they're using technology or not. They thought making that donation and registering was easy. I think there's room for fundraisers to make it even easier when it comes to, and Trevor, you mentioned this gamification, but it's really, how do we make it easy? People 64% of the people said that bidding was easy, and that checking out, 68% said checkout was easy. So we know that we can get those numbers up higher as a technology company, and we're constantly looking at ways we can innovate. Yep. But when guests want to participate, when you want them to really stick around and be a part of the event and keep giving, they're looking for, that ease of use and the ability to bid and look at different items, be queued up items you might like. Just like your shopping experience. So that whole, okay, I can register and donate, but how do I set my max bids? How do I engage with whatever technology platform you might be using to create that momentum?
Yeah.
Do you suggest that?
Oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think I was just going to say, part of that ease that really ties into kind of the root of what fundraising is with relationship building is trust. Because if you go to a nonprofit event and it's not easy to do those things, that's not just going to go back on whatever technology company that a nonprofit is using or their partners that are there. That's going to reflect directly on the nonprofit, and they're going to lose a little bit of trust in you if they run into issues with trying to make that bid or to navigate or do any of the things that they would do at an auction. So it really is kind of rooted in trust as well.
Good call.
So do you suggest that there be sorry. No. Do you suggest that there be dedicated volunteers at an event to help with these things, trained volunteers that would help guests who are having a little bit of trouble on the platforms?
I love that. Karrie, go ahead. I see you're ready.
Absolutely. So whether you're using technology on your own as a fundraiser, you absolutely want an area or at registration or a little help desk where people can come and ask questions. When OneCause does come on site, our on-site event managers help answer those questions for the nonprofit so that they can focus on their donors and cultivating them. But absolutely. You want like a small little help desk or someone that's kind of walking through the area just to make sure that people can bid. What's happening, I wouldn't say a lot yet, it's probably a stat we should start to ask Sarah, is that sometimes people aren't bringing the items anymore. And so it's all in the technology.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're not bringing all of the items. Maybe they're bringing a portion of them, and then they're packaging up other items for the checkout so they're ready to go. Because if you can see multiple pictures on the device that you're bidding on, then it's really easy. And so it's just kind of filtering through the event and making sure that you're keeping your eyes open for people that might be struggling to bid. Yeah.
Right.
I want to do a detour really quick, actually, while we're talking, just a quick detour, if you don't mind, from our plan. But let's talk about that a little bit, because everything's so digitally driven now, right? Obviously, but also at events where, like you said, Karrie, folks aren't. It's been a couple of years since I saw someone leaving with like a picture of like Kobe Bryant's championship rings, which is awesome. And if you're doing that, more power to you. Fantastic. If it's working at your event, great. But let's talk about just like being on the tech side of things so heavily, y'all. And I know the innovation and what y'all are coming out with is amazing. We can talk. There's so much greatness coming out of it. But talk about just like using tools, like I'm going to say it, like using tools like AI for descriptions of the items and making sure that items are very, very visible as part of the ease component with bidding and engagement and all that. Anything you care to share about that? And it's just important and kind of speaking to you for the audience?
Yeah, well, one thing that you just talked about and ties into what Karrie said, if you're not going to have those items on site, there was a stat we did ask about, hey, how important is it to be able to preview things before you get to the auction? And that was 6 in 10 of auction goers said, oh yeah, that's super important. And it obviously it's going to be even more important if you're not going to have those items on site. You want them to be able to window shop and get really excited and kind of plan what they're going to spend on, what are they going to pay attention to, and look for, who's bidding against me, got to watch out for my outbid notifications, and all that good stuff. So that was one thing that I think really ties into that for sure.
Yeah.
And one thing too, Trevor, some stats that we kind of pulled together is the item descriptions. We have that built into our platform. And so you can add in, okay, here's what the item has, and then you can hit this AI button that just generates the description. And then of course you want to tweak it to make it your own.
Yeah.
But that saves up to 8 hours for nonprofits so that they're not spending so much time writing. And then the other cool thing is that we're seeing in our platform that they're raising 25% more in their auction when we're queuing up what Trevor might like. So we're showing, I know it happens to me on Amazon all the time.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, check out these other items. And that's what we're doing in the product as well.
I think it's so smart. And hey, listen, a prepared bidder is a higher bidder.
Yes.
We're big on no surprises, show folks. And because no one shops that way, it's like, hey, I want a pair of pants, but I don't need to see them. I don't need to see what color they are first. It's like, well, that's really where the world is going. Like you said, was like how Amazon treats the shopping experience, for instance, just as an example. But no, a prepared bidder, our friend Trisha, I stole it from her. I'm an information thief from being on so many webinars now and podcasts, but a prepared bidder is a higher bidder. And no matter who's on here, who's watching, what kind of event you have, that's your donor base as well, right?
I'm going to write that down, Trevor. That's a good one.
You can have that one. You can have that one. No. I got so many of those, Karrie, from having so many conversations.
What do you guys suggest as far as the window, though? A preview window. How far in advance should you be putting it out there? And I love, by the way, the AI thing. I mean, I wish I would have had that at my fingertips when I was doing this, because writing descriptions was a tedious task. So it would have been so great. But anyway, so as far as preview goes, how far out from the event?
So I would say pre-2020, people were doing it much closer, like a couple days, like Thursday before or Wednesday before. Post-COVID, people are getting that thing out there, as soon as they feel like they got enough auction items, it could be 2 weeks in advance, definitely 1 week. From a marketing standpoint, from like my recommendation is you can drip, nurture and campaign them and tell them about different fun items to look at throughout the week leading up to when we're going to see you on site that night. And then you also have the ability for your remote bidders that can't make it to be able to bid and look at the items and participate in that year. So, I think that the preview or the actual bidding, when you turn it on, it's definitely not 2 days before the day of. People are opening it up much, much wider now. Yeah.
Sarah, what's your feedback about that?
Well, I think I'm specifically thinking about one that I saw there was an item that was being promoted really far in advance because they knew it would get a lot of traction and they were trying to attract as many people as possible. If you have something as unique as this, earlier the better.
Yeah.
It was the chance to basically be written into an online role-playing game as a character, like as an NPC. And people were freaking out online about this. And it got so much publicity that really drove a lot of people to their auction. So they did that well in advance. It was a couple of months ahead of it. So that's just kind of like a standout in my mind. So if you've got a really cool item, definitely do it earlier. And then
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, please.
I was just going to say promotion in general. We did ask about that. Like, you just want to start promoting your auction. And around a third or a little over a third said that they started between 61 to 90 days. And then another 28%, it was 91 to 120 days before their auction. So that was where we saw most people starting to promote their events.
Yeah. And I think also, do you think that the ticket sales and promoting the event 69 days out is because of competition with other events, for instance, with scheduling? It's like, oh, I got to put that on the calendar, because if I find out about something, for instance, I've got kids, my wife's a teacher, all these things. If I find out 2 weeks before something, I can't go because that time's already spoken for. It's not because I'm hot stuff. That's just our world. Like, speak to that and just like, where the world is as far as folks, that and their scheduling and having the save the date and what have you. Speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I think save the date is right. I mean, we get those for weddings, right? Or for special events. I think save the dates are super helpful of when ticket sales will go on. Save the date, ticket sales go live on whatever day. Sarah's comment around promoting the event, when people are starting to sell tickets, 32% started selling at 60 to 90 and 28% were 90 to 120. So from when Sarah and I have debated this before, like, we really think the longer the better, like opening it up and giving people time.
Yeah.
One of our customers, one of our favorite customers, Human Rights Campaign, they do that pre-sale and those VIP tickets in advance. They do about 35 events, national dinners all across the country. And when they create that momentum for pre-sale, it gains a lot of traction. So I think the earlier the better.
Yeah. And I think specifically for that experimentation with ticket types and to drive more revenue, because I mean, you're not just thinking about, okay, I just want to sell it on my tickets. Well, what can you do within that time frame to drive more registration, more ticket revenue too? And one of the other tactics from Human Rights Campaign was group discounts, because they were seeing, people buying tables of 10, they were seeing couples, individuals come, but there was kind of a middle ground where it was groups of 5, groups of 6 that weren't really being served by any kind of ticket package or discount. So when they put this group discount into place, I think it's like half of their ticket sales now are group discounts. Wow. And we actually implemented that for our conference this year. And I just looked today, and I think it's like 30% of our ticket sales, Karrie, now there's a number to it, are the group discounts. So try it.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. No, it's huge. Also, another thing is you can't underestimate the power of getting some money in the door before you open your doors. We see this in our world. We'll be in 2,000 events this year alone. We're really big fans of like the golden ticket strategy, as we spoke to earlier, and just using that as an example. Selling tickets, selling out. Sandy just had a client that sold 100 tickets for $100 before the event even took off. $10,000 in the door before the event. Yeah. I mean, give me a break, right? And that's so massive opportunity there. I think once again, we said prepared bidders are higher bidders, but they're, prepared table buyers, this and that are more likely to get involved and what have you. I wanted to just get back to the chat real quick. There's a couple questions. Debbie said our older attendees have struggles with registering. We plan on having a volunteer or two available to help those folks. Absolutely, Debbie, fantastic. Understand your audience and make sure you have people there. You can reach out to Sandy directly, Debbie, Sandy at hgafundraising.com. Sandy raised money for JDRF for 18 years before she was on our team. And she talks about having volunteers, having what's the college term? I don't know why it's slipping me right now, but like folks or interns do it as well.
Interns,
yeah. I mean, it's like, that's uncanny because I never heard anyone say that before you did. Massive. You have people that, let's say someone can't raise their paddle, going full circle with what Sarah said. I can't buy the $10,000 item. There are people that care about your organization to the 10,000th power that would love to, that are gregarious and would love to help folks check in. So absolutely utilize the volunteer and the people power that you have. Bobby Lynn just set up a demo with OneCause today. Hey, Bobby Lynn, way to go. Fantastic. That's awesome. Ori, would you open it before the 2 weeks? I think that our consensus here and the data suggests absolutely. And listen, another thing I was thinking about, ladies, you can always add.
Yes.
Have
Yes.
something ready. You get a rockin'
Yeah.
donation for your live auction or whatnot, or grab a really great, opportunity that you can put in your live auction. You can always add that a week out. That's something also strategic that you could do as
Oh,
like a
yeah.
sizzle piece. It's like, hey, we just got this new item. Oh my God, it's cool. It's like, make it creative, make it fun, but absolutely, Ori, do it. Yeah. Prepare folks for what to expect. So I think the consensus is yes. I'm going rapid fire here. Sorry. Is there any data around teasing the opening bid amount when preview the items? I Gals, this is your world. What do you think? Is there any data around, Jake asked, teasing the opening bid amount when previewing items?
I would imagine probably a good idea. We didn't ask specifically about that, but industry best practice, anywhere from 30 to 50% of that item value. So starting on the lower end of that, teasing it out to kind of get people attracted and in the door to your really special items that you're previewing.
Yeah.
And of course, and Karrie was saying earlier, we're already thinking about next year. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to jot all these down so we can ask people in the next study.
Yeah, no, we're extracting some really good questions.
Yeah.
Karrie,
but you know what, would that hold true as well though for a live auction item?
Good question.
Right?
I know our auctioneer.
I don't think it would translate.
No, not to live. I don't agree.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Or I do agree with that. Pardon me. Yeah. Karrie, anything to add?
I was just going to agree with what Sandy just said. And our auctioneer friends probably have a strong opinion of that too. But I agree.
We know some of those folks.
Yeah, we know some of those too. We love them. We love them.
I would stay away from it as far as the live auction. Yeah.
That's a great call. Great call. And then Jenna, Jenna mentioned they got a ton of interest from some F1 tickets they had, drew a lot of excitement prior to the event. And that's exactly the point. I call it sizzle, what have you, pre-event. Jenna, absolutely use those items, use those bidding opportunities to create excitement pre-event. And it's a pretty obvious, I'm not, I'm not trying to be too dull here, but like the shareability piece, right, of your event is massive. We talk about the competition with dates, and it's like, my time's already spoken for. Oh my God, I care about that mission so much. But like, if they would have let me know 6 weeks ago, I could have, appropriated that time. So do the same thing with items and rely on the shareability, right, of those really, really cool experiences. And folks will, we call it, they'll start figuratively packing their bags in their minds, like, oh, I got to get a sitter. Oh, geez, I got to do this, and that's real life. That's what people are dealing with, of course.
And the extra time too will give you time for extra touch points leading up to the event, right? And preparing those donors and sharing mission moments. All throughout. If they're signing up, they're buying their tickets 6 months out, you have plenty of time to now tee them up for a great night of fundraising. So that's another plus to
that. Jenna, great. Yeah, get the board members excited a bit against each other. Get them, prepare a message for your board members and committee members to share with people that they know. Don't ask them to do it. Prepare them to do it by giving them the vernacular. Use AI as a tool if you want, from the OneCause description or just a shareable link from the auction site, and ask your board to share with other people that are going to be sitting at their table or that are on the other side of the world that might be interested in something like that. Just make it really, really easy for folks to share, and that way you can motivate the bidding.
And I love that you touched on like preparing your board members and not just like expecting them to know what to do. They have jobs. This is something they're doing outside of their normal job. And one of our colleagues actually presented on this, I think at Samantha Swaim's fundraising conference, Swaim Strategies Conference, Elevate. There we go. Couldn't remember the word. And had a whole list of like, okay, here are the jobs that you should be giving them with the specifics of what they are to do during this event. So you have all of your bases covered. So I love that you just kind of touched on that.
Yeah. And then with software and just the advent of all the tools that even, that the auction site that you all provide, it's just shareable link. You know what I mean? It's super easy. Let's just make it super simple. Let's not rely on folks go, oh, I could, no, just give them what they need to share and choreograph it. I think it's massive. Absolutely. Yeah.
One thing that we get like a lot of questions about, and I don't know if you guys are hearing kind of the same things or if anybody's even asking in the chat, is about, young people, what are we doing with them as far as like coming to auctions, coming to galas, etc. And so we did look down into our demographic data. And one thing I thought was kind of cool, we looked at, here are the age groups, who's attending auctions or who's participating in auctions. And remember, this can be live auction, silent auction, virtual, what have you. There was not much of a spread as far as like age difference between people participating in auctions or bidding and buying. Where we did see a little bit of the spread, it leaned older, was the gala specifically. So that was more millennials and up, but everybody was okay, and participating in auctions. And that's where it kind of comes back to tying things onto these different types of events that we were talking about before, right? We saw a lot of golf events, and there was another woman where I just spoke at Planet Philanthropy last week who said they had like a farmer's market kind of event that was really super popular with young people. It was like a maker's market. They charged for like booths and everything so that people could come out. That is apparently becoming huge.
Yeah.
So if you haven't tried that, that might be a really good way to, get people out into a community environment. Maybe you have a little silent auction running, or you have, you've got maybe your basket sitting there too. So there are ways to kind of tack these on if you have the means to do that. So
one thing, Sarah, I'll piggyback on what you just said. So, and this was a stat from the study, is that 61% said they wanted fixed price and buy it now, compared of the younger generation, compared to 39% Gen X and 20% of boomers. So Z and millennials want it now. It's that culture of like, I'm going to, I like
instant gratification.
Yeah, like gratification. I thought that was an interesting stat.
And they wanted outbid notifications at a higher rate too, and they wanted those item suggestions as well. So even like thinking about the event we just mentioned, like they're walking around visiting these booths, right? And they're like, oh, got a text, I'm outbid on my item, let me place it. All right, now I'm going to go back and pay attention to what I was doing. So they're giving you revenue in multiple ways at the same time. They want the tech part of it so that they can be multitasking. They're always all over the place, right? So,
well, especially if you have something so interactive as like a maker's market, right?
Yeah.
Your attentions, and you're like, some people are gonna be pushing strollers, and there's all sorts of crazy stuff that's gonna be going on, of course, right? But it's like, it's like that's the market telling you what they want, right? So, Karrie, you mentioned with the buy it now. I love that, and I don't think people do that enough, especially when your attention's being pulled in so many different directions because you're not at a traditional gala. Yes, you need I don't want to spend a ton of time thinking and shopping in my head or on ChatGPT or on Google just to figure out if I want to bid on this or not. It's like, this is my price, here I go. You know what I mean?
And then the other thing too is, and this is not in the data report, but just personal experience working with nonprofits, is that buy it now has to be high enough. Because if you have some of the younger generation that has money to spend at your event and they want to buy it now, it better be 200% of the value.
Cool. Yes. No, I think that's massive feedback. And then also, it's like, listen, do every one of your items have to be buy it now?
No.
But you're once again, equal opportunity receivers. Like, okay, because a lot of events are going to have a multitude of different, age demos and proclivity to spend and what have you, of course, right? So testing and having multiple options for folks, I think you can't lose. And we're not talking about having 100 items. If you have 100 items, that's fantastic too. If that works for you, then you can really test, because that's a huge sample size.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I made a mistake at an auction years ago where I put an experience at a buy it now, and it sold out right away. And I'm like, I'll never do that again, because the experience was people just wanted to go do that thing. And there was no reason to put buy it now on it.
Well, I think it's awesome. I love when we're talking about fixed price and buy it now stuff. I think it's underutilized. Hey, real quick, I wanted to get to Debbie's question. Is it better to have anonymous bidding? We had some attendees that felt uncomfortable outbidding board members. It looks like you have a thought about that, Sarah. Go ahead.
I am pulling my personal thought into this right now, and I think it should be an option, honestly, because why would you deny someone who wants to give your organization money the ability to be anonymous?
Sure.
Right? Have it be an option.
That's a click of the button. That's a click of the button. Yeah. And
you said, don't say no, take it all, right? Like, give people the option, personalize it, keep it their preferences.
And I'm a big fan of anonymous, because I don't want to outbid my friend sitting at the table or two tables over, or I don't even know if my neighbor is outbidding that person. So I know that there's platforms that do allow that, but I'm a big proponent of, it's just anonymous.
Cool. I also like the competition side of it. I'm gonna play the other side, not like it's right or wrong, but the other side of the coin is competitive. And Debbie, if your board members are getting hurt about people outbidding them, Okay, I don't know what. Yeah,
You have the right board members.
yeah. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I'm gonna get in there. So yeah, exactly. Sandy, any closing thoughts about that?
No, I think that, I mean, in a live auction setting, right? Obviously, it's not going to be anonymous, but I mean, we always did, we always did anonymous. So, I'm trying to think back to the paper and pen days, but at our golf tournament there were names, but for the most part, at our gala everything was anonymous and by bidder number and such. So
hey, you use a pseudonym if you're still using paper and pen. Use a pseudonym and just make sure you use your real name as it appears on your credit card at checkout. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Okay. Hey,
Trevor.
Okay, listen, we're running out of time. We're running out of time. Trevor? Okay, go ahead.
We are.
Okay, yeah, we're running.
One last question from. Okay, we have to go. Okay.
Well, no, I'm saying, well, first and foremost, I'm going to be cheeky. Sorry, gals, we didn't get to half of what we wanted to talk about, so you got to come back now. So really sorry about that. You got to come back. No, it was a really great conversation. No, we want to be polite with everyone's time. In 30 seconds or less, Karrie, Sarah, whoever wants to go first, one big thing every organization could be doing right now as you've gone through the data and the report and had so much time to digest it, and you've been talking about it ad nauseum. One big thing every organization could be doing right now to improve auction results.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to let Karrie think for a second, because I'm going to play the long-term game, because that was my favorite stat from this report, is putting together your plan for follow-up, your communication plan, your engagement plan, your cultivation plan for after your auction. You heard the numbers. 64% said they're likely to become monthly. 83% said they're likely to become annual donors. Strengthen those relationships. That's mine.
So good. So good. Karrie?
And mine is really just to start to think differently about your ticket packaging and looking at your discounts and your VIP experience, just in that you're providing different options. I think people are looking at buying differently than they were years ago and in the auction, but that would be my one quick takeaway. Yeah.
So good. So good. Hey, gals, will you hang in there one more time? We got this really fun little game. Everyone that, yeah, there you go. We're going to give away something. We're going to give away a golden ticket. We talked about it like 3 times. So it's super fun. And yeah, the gals, you can't text me. I'm really sorry.
Dang
it. So everybody, hey, text 73 or HGA to 73747. I'm already getting some and some text messages. I'm randomly going to pick a winner from today's attendee list and folks that were able to stay with us for the entire hour. So sorry we kept y'all or didn't get to all of the data and bullets from the report. We are going to have links to the report and the deck and all that good stuff, a ton of stuff, ways putting your business in the street, guys, ways that you can get a hold of Karrie and Sarah and Sandy post webinar and all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm waiting for some numbers to come in here. I'm randomly going to pick a winner of a golden ticket, and I'm going to call them on the air right now. If you all want to start doing this on your webinar, you totally can too. So. Super cool. Okay, here I go. And make sure that your ringer's on, right, Sandy? We had a couple failures to launch.
Make sure your phone is on and ready.
Oh my goodness. What's so funny?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Drum roll.
Yeah. Hey, this is so funny. The name popped up on my phone when I picked it randomly. It's hey, Steve, have you worked with OneCause in the past?
We actually have for many years.
That's what I thought. Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. That's so funny. I think we met from Raise. So anyway, it doesn't have a random number. It says Steve Schumacher. Steve Schumacher won the golden ticket. Hey, it's good to talk to you, man. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you. I know my wife's bugging me about going to Omaha for the College World Series next year, so we're going to go because we were glued to the television for the Super Regionals, college baseball stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, hey Steve, I'll connect with you after we get off, and you won the golden ticket, man. Thanks for coming. Okay, appreciate you, brother.
Love it. Thanks, guys.
Congrats,
I'll talk to you soon. Okay, later. That's so funny. So I hit randomly, and then the name pops up, and it's a friend. It's Steve. We met at Raise. How cool is that?
Oh, that's fun.
You can tell with how red I am. That was completely unintended, but really, really great. Hey, not as great as the time that y'all spent with us. Thank you so much. Appreciate you both so much. Yeah. Sandy, thank you so much. And gals, I'm dead serious. Sorry, you got to do a part 2 now. What's the sweet spot for scheduling? 60 to 90 days in advance for ticket sales or scheduling? Yeah. But hey, we'll be in touch. Thank you so much for being so gracious with your time. We appreciate the report is amazing. And we appreciate the work that you all are doing, and two of the best.
Likewise.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Trevor.
We appreciate it. Thanks everybody in the audience.
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks for sharing.
everybody.
Y'all take care. Have a great Thursday afternoon wherever you are, and we'll see you all next Thursday. Thanks, ladies. Appreciate you so much.